Hi and welcome to Make Me Like It, a web series about food and nostalgia. I'm Corrine Collins. I'm a university professor and a home baker, and I'm here to revisit some of the food I ate in childhood that I disliked and to see if I can make myself like it as an adult. When we talk about the food we ate as kids, it's usually through a sense of nostalgia. We talk about the things that we liked, the things that we miss, but what if we didn't like all of the food that we ate as kids? And what if some of the things that we didn't like are things that are considered to be culturally significant or traditional? I grew up in a British Jamaican household, and I didn't like a lot of the things that I felt like I should like, and I'm here to revisit some of the worst things, the things that I hate the most, to see if I can make myself like them now. Let's see how it goes. Today I'm going to try and make rock cakes. Rock cakes are little craggy cakes that are kind of hard in texture when they cool down. They're not named rock cakes because they get hard when they're cold, but because they kind of look like rocks when they're put on a plate after they're baked. They are kind of similar to scones, but a little bit harder than that. They have raisins or other dried fruit in them, and usually they get eaten with tea. My mom used to make them for us growing up, and there was always a lot of raisins in them. I always felt they were a little bit dry. She gave me her recipe, and this is one that I made. When I tried it, I think it actually tastes much better than I remember them tasting as a kid. So I feel like she might have sneakily changed it on me. But what I didn't like about them was that they're kind of dry. And as you can see here, the raisins get really dark when they get baked. So they have a bitterness to them. And in general, I just wanted more flavor. I wanted a nicer texture. I wanted more butter, all of those good things. The earliest recipe for rock cakes that I found was from 1839. And so they're thought to be developed in England in the middle of the 19th century. But they also were spread across the globe through the British Empire. I found recipes for rock cakes in the Caribbean, and there's sort of a lot of variations that contain different things. Some of those variations include things like coconut or cherries, and that is the basis of my recipe today. My version of rock cakes is inspired by Bajan sweetbread. This is a sweetbread that our family friend used to make for us. She's from Barbados. She used to make it with coconut, nutmeg, cinnamon, vanilla, and almond. I'm gonna change out the raisins for golden raisins because I really prefer them, and I'm adding cherries. Let's see how it goes. The first thing we have to do to make rock cakes is to mix together our dry ingredients. I have all-purpose flour here, brown sugar, some baking powder, cinnamon, nutmeg, and then I'm just gonna mix these together just to combine them very quickly. So because brown sugar has more moisture in it than white sugar, it sometimes clumps together. So I'm just pressing down as I do this to make sure to break up any big chunks. That looks about right. So now what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna add in this butter, and I'm going to gently rub it in with my hands. So I'm just gonna squeeze the butter pieces together just to flatten them to begin with, kind of like when making pie crust. And then after that, I'm gonna rub the butter between my fingers to incorporate it with the flour. I'm looking for something sort of similar to breadcrumbs, maybe not as fine. When I was little, my mom used to make chocolate cakes that used the rubbing in method, and this was always my job when I got to help her, to rub the butter into the flour. It's starting to look pretty good. There are still some bigger chunks in here, but I'm not too worried about it. So the next thing we're gonna do is add our dried fruit, and then we're gonna add our wet ingredients in and mix it all together. Now it's time to add the dried fruit. I'm gonna use golden raisins instead of regular raisins, glacé cherries. I'm also gonna add coconut. And then after I've got all this in there, I'm gonna mix it. Okay, this looks pretty well combined. So now I'm gonna add vanilla here and almond extract. These are just mixed together. Egg that's beaten up. And I'm gonna add just a little bit of milk to start with, and then I'll add more if I need it. Let's just see how this comes together. I think it might need a little bit more moisture. It's still a little bit dry. So I'm just gonna put the rest of that milk in, and it should be enough to hydrate it. Okay, that's looking pretty good. So this is my baking sheet, just got a little bit of parchment on it. I always scrunch up my parchment so that it doesn't curl up when you try and put it on the tray. That's like a good tip I feel like I learned from the internet. So I'm just gonna get in here and create sort of just balls, really. We should get about 6. What happens is when they bake, they spread and they get that cracked top that gives them their name. So now our rock cakes are portioned out. I'm not too fussed about them all being different sizes. They smell really, really good. You can see some nice cherries in here. Not too many raisins, which is what I want. We're just gonna put them in the oven for about 15 minutes at 400 degrees. I'm actually kind of excited to see how these turn out because the almond just smells so amazing to me. So these are nice and cool, but not too cool. So I'm gonna try one. This is gonna be the moment of truth. It's okay. It's a bit dry. There's definitely a reason why you need a hot drink with them, but the flavor is actually really nice. I'm getting the almond, the coconut, the vanilla, the cinnamon, the nutmeg. The flavors are the same flavors that I wanted to replicate from the Bayesian coconut bread, but it's still like a scone, but worse. The texture really is just not for me. So I guess in this case, I actually couldn't make myself like it. So glad you joined me on this interesting journey to revisit some of the food that I hated as a kid to see if I can make myself like it as an adult. I hope you learned something about food and culture and colonialism. Look out for more misadventures in the kitchen. See you soon.